Welcome to the West Virginia Universal Access to a Quality Early Education System Policy 2525 training. West Virginia pre-K classrooms shall be voluntary. Parents often ask, is this a mandatory program? At this time, pre-K is still a voluntary program. It is a readiness program designed to meet the needs of all eligible children through a holistic approach, including key developmental domains of health and physical development, social and emotional development, language development, communication, cognition, and general knowledge. The pre-K programs are designed to work with an individual child and their approach to learning. The West Virginia pre-K programs are school readiness programs. They're designed to support the efforts and use of developmentally effective methods for children prior to entering first grade. The Ready, Set, Go West Virginia Comprehensive Framework for School Readiness is utilized in West Virginia. This framework focuses on how state and local community schools and programs can offer support and resources for families and children prior to and during their transition into first grade. Programs serving children in early learning readiness grades, pre-K and kindergarten, also provide opportunities for children to build solid foundations and positive learning experiences. The pre-K programs must offer inclusive settings. Verified Universal Pre-K program data will outline the county's process for providing fully inclusive early childhood classrooms with supports for children identified with special education needs. These children identified with special needs must be served in a least restrictive environment. Socioeconomic levels, abilities, and/or funding shall not be viewed as a deterrent for providing fully inclusive programs. The IEP placement determination identifies a setting where the IEP will be implemented. The student's placement decision will be made by the student's IEP committee. The placement will be in the least restrictive environment and will be held as close as possible to their home school if they had not been identified with a disability. West Virginia pre-K programs support family engagement. The classrooms must incorporate meaningful ways of communicating with and involving parents and guardians in a classroom that includes opportunities for parents and guardians to participate in decision-making about their child's education through a minimum of 2 documented face-to-face conferences annually. Documented methods of communication with parents or guardians such as newsletters, child activity reports, phone calls, home visits, emails, and conferences. Services to children and their families necessary to support children as they transition into and participate in the transition out of the program. Services for children who come from homes where languages other than English are spoken. Support services include communication that is comprehensible and supportive of both the native language and English language development. Support services pursuant to Policy 2419 are provided in accordance with the needs specified in the child's IEP for preschool children with disabilities. Classrooms are open to parents, guardians, and where parents and guardians are encouraged to participate in classroom activities. For children enrolled in the West Virginia pre-K classroom, breakfast and lunch must be provided. Any meal provided during the West Virginia pre-K hours must be in compliance with the nutrition guidelines set forth in the West Virginia Department of Ed National School Meals Program. Meals shall be served in a setting that encourages socialization and self-help skills, where the children and staff members are seated together when eating, and classroom staff members provide supervision and encourage positive eating habits and conversation. Health and safety is of utmost importance to the pre-K programs. We recognize that all children within the West Virginia pre-K system shall be in safe and healthy environments, and that the collaborative partners within the West Virginia pre-K system will have rules and regulations governing various aspects of their programming, set forth a common set of health and safety standards, and must follow in addition to any existing rules and regulations based on funding sources for their individual programs. West Virginia pre-K classrooms must provide 35 square feet of usable space per child. Classrooms shall be limited to no more than 20 children with no less than 2 adults, one of whom is a teacher. The children shall have adequate supervision at all times. When children are on the premises, a West Virginia pre-K participating program shall ensure that 2 adults are present with the children. The county shall establish policies and procedures for ensuring adequate supervision and safety of children. This is a non-negotiable in the pre-K programs. West Virginia classrooms shall provide appropriate daily opportunities for children to have supervised practice of brushing teeth while maintaining proper oral health hygiene procedures with special considerations to technique, replacement of toothbrushes, cross-contamination, and proper storage. The pre-K classrooms shall provide the opportunities for children to rest. A regular rest period shall be included in the daily schedule and include provisions for quiet play for children who are unable to sleep during the rest period. Staff members shall utilize universal precautions when exposed to blood and body fluids that might contain blood. Staff members and children shall follow best hand washing practices incorporated throughout the day, including washing with soap and warm running water for at least 20 seconds. Due to allergies and the potential dangers associated with having animals in the classroom shall not have on the premises ferrets, birds, reptiles, including snakes, lizards and turtles, or any wild or dangerous animals. The West Virginia classroom shall ensure that products containing potentially hazardous chemicals, including identified poisons, medications, certain cleaning supplies, and art supplies not clearly labeled as non-toxic, are properly handled and stored. These items should be stored in a locked cabinet away from food and in their original containers. The West Virginia pre-K classroom shall ensure potentially hazardous material to young children, such as plastic bags, window shade cords, styrofoam, or balloons, be stored out of reach of children and utilized with adequate supervision. Section 12.12 is extremely important. The West Virginia program shall implement and maintain policies and procedures for the reporting of child abuse and neglect that include the definition of child abuse and neglect, the requirements to report immediately and no more than 24 hours in accordance with the West Virginia Code. Any suspected incident of child abuse and neglect must go to Child Protective Services. This must be done by the person that observed, heard, and or witnessed any type of child abuse or suspected child abuse. Environmental design. Each West Virginia pre-K classroom shall provide a minimum of 35 square feet per child of usable classroom space. A West Virginia pre-K classroom shall be designed and equipped as a learning environment that supports the curricular framework and allows children of all abilities to make choices, discover, explore, and solve problems while assuring the child's health and safety, clearly defining learning centers and incorporating them into the classroom, organizing and labeling materials and equipment to make them accessible to all children, incorporating non-stereotypical images in the elements of the environment, supplying a sufficient quantity and variety of appropriate materials, rotating the availability of materials, supporting a child's need for privacy and a safe place to be alone, and introducing a child to the unfamiliar. A West Virginia pre-K classroom shall provide equipment and materials for indoor activities that are clearly organized within activity areas that support programming goals and allow for adequate supervision. Program components must include learning centers incorporated within the classroom, designed to support literacy, early numeracy, and language, such as blocks and construction, books, manipulative materials, science and nature, writing materials, dramatic play and role-playing, physical activity, art, and music. A West Virginia program shall provide an outdoor activity area that includes a minimum of 75 square feet per child, or if the outdoor play area has less than that, the West Virginia program shall establish an outdoor play schedule for rotating groups of children to meet the minimum space requirements. We want to ensure that each child has an opportunity to play outdoors each day, weather permitting. Outdoor activities shall be considered an extension of the classroom. Daily outdoor activities shall support the implementation of the approved West Virginia pre-K curriculum, Policy 2520, and the West Virginia pre-K classroom shall provide a minimum of 1 hour of outdoor activity daily as part of the curriculum, weather permitting. A combination of indoor and/or outdoor time may be utilized when weather conditions are not conducive to outdoor gross motor activities. Child guidance. Staff shall ensure that all guidance, behavior management, and discipline practices are constructive and educational in nature, appropriate to each child's age and circumstances. At all times, staff members are responsible for providing positive guidance that is appropriate to each child's age, understanding, and circumstances. When a behavior problem arises, qualified staff members shall redirect the child to alternative behaviors or other activities, encourage children to control their own behaviors, cooperate with others, and solve problems by talking through the issues. Speak so the child understands that feelings are acceptable, but inappropriate behaviors and actions are not. And take action that relates to inappropriate behavior ensures that any action that is taken is without bias and is proportional to the child's act. Staff members and other adults in the West Virginia pre-K classroom shall not handle behavior problems by subjecting a child to physical punishment of any kind, putting anything in or on a child's mouth as punishment, restraining a child physically or by placing the child in confining equipment or using any other restrictive means such as straps or ties. A staff person may, in extreme circumstances, to protect the child or other persons around him or her, use a gentle method of physically holding the child. The staff person must be an experienced staff member who is known to the child and shall only restrain the child for as long as necessary for the child to regain control. Adults shall not subject a child to psychological punishment of any kind, including but not limited to shaming, ridicule, humiliation, or negative remarks about the child or the child's family, including remarks about race, gender, religion, physical characteristics, or cultural backgrounds. The adults shall not use harsh or profane language, yelling, screaming, or actual or implied threats of physical punishment. The adults may not punish or threaten a child in association with food, rest, or toilet training. The adults may not isolate a child without supervision or placing the child in a dark area, permitting a child to discipline other children, punishing an entire group for the actions of one child or a few children. The adults may not seek or accept parental permission to use physical punishment or other actions prohibited by this rule, or by the use of any other practice that is not appropriate for ages or stages of the child or is harmful psychologically. Curriculum and assessment. Curriculum is part of the interrelated approach that includes formative assessment and approved content standards to facilitate individualization and direction of classroom programming. The West Virginia pre-K classrooms must implement Policy 2520, which is aligned with Head Start Early Learning Outcomes Framework and the West Virginia College and Career Readiness Kindergarten Standards. The West Virginia Early Learning Reporting System, pre-K West Virginia ELRS, is inclusive of the Early Learning Scale, which focuses on the formative assessment process. The assessment supports the whole child across multiple learning domains as the child progresses developmentally. It supports family engagement and relationships with the child's educational experiences, demonstrates the child's overall strengths and progress, encourages self-evaluation by the child, relies on demonstrated performances of real, not contrived activities. ELRS utilizes a variety of tools and processes. It allows for differences in learning styles and rates, and provides a comprehensive reporting system on the child's individual accomplishments. Under curriculum and assessment, instructional practices such as worksheets, extended periods of sitting, seat work at desks or tables, flashcards, prescribed sequence of content areas taught in isolation, requiring all children to be working on the same skill, lack of individualization, or high levels of teacher-directed instruction are not permissible. And again, please read this very carefully about worksheets, extended periods of sitting, seat work at desks or tables, and flashcards. The pre-K program is under the guidance and direction of a county collaborative early childhood team. Each county must establish a county collaborative early childhood team, which includes a core team with a minimum representation from the county school system, the county school system preschool special needs program, a licensed community child care program, and the Head Start program in that county. The county also has a collaborative early childhood committee, which includes a parent or guardian of a preschool child, representatives from the West Virginia Birth to 3 system, local Department of Health and Human Resources, child care resources, school health representatives, classroom teachers, family resource networks, parent education resource, and faith-based early childhood programs. We want to thank all that you do for our pre-K students and their families every day, because when the children finish the pre-K program under the rule of 5 as they head off to kindergarten, they are college and career ready. They can work cooperatively, be responsible, use language both written and oral, find and use their resources, and learn to problem solve. So again, we thank you for all that you do for our pre-K students and families every day.